All right, again, thank you so much for joining today's applicant webinar all about the National Child Awareness Month Youth Ambassador Program. Just to cover today's agenda of what we'll be going over, I'm going to do a short overview about the program and introduce Youth Service America and Festival of Children. We'll touch on some eligibility requirements for the program, and then I'll touch on just a few pieces of the application that are really important and I want to draw your attention to. Then I'll touch on a few logistics about the training that's being held here in DC in September. And then we'll go over the program timeline. And then we'll have, as I mentioned before, plenty of time for questions and answers. So go ahead and hold on to your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll have plenty of time to answer those questions. The mission of Youth Service America is to improve communities by increasing the number and diversity of young people serving in substantive roles. We do this by partnering with schools and organizations that engage youth, by providing funding and grants and resources directly to youth, and by recognizing all of the hard work and effort that youth do to serve in their community. But none of this would be possible if we did not have great partners and funders like Festival of Children. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Eileen, who is from Festival of Children and can share a little bit about their organization and about the NCAM program. And Eileen, I think you guys need to just enter the PIN. If there's, there should be a 4-digit PIN that you just need to enter on your phone, and that should give you guys access to the line. Okay, well, hopefully, as Eileen and Tanya get that worked out, I'll just share a little bit of information. This is actually our second year of running the program with Festival of Children. And their focus with this program is highlighting National Child Awareness Month, which takes place in September. Festival of Children really focuses on working with organizations that work with issues facing youth and children. And it's been a great partnership to work with them to put together the NCAM Youth Ambassador Program. The program, as I said, is a partnership with YSA and Festival of Children. It's a year-long ambassadorship that trains youth to combat critical issues facing youth in their communities. Ambassadors receive support, advocacy training in Washington, D.C., and planning guidance for their respective service projects throughout the year. The Youth Ambassador Program kicks off in September during National Child Awareness Month. And with funding, training, and ongoing support, youth ambassadors serve as leaders in their communities and schools to mobilize their peers, engage media and public officials, and raise public awareness around issues affecting children. As I'm sure you've all seen, we will be awarding 51 Youth Ambassador Awards, one for each state and DC, which creates a powerful national network of young people who raise their collective voices to serve in their community. Just to go through a few eligibility requirements for the program, we are looking for applicants that are between the ages of 6 and 22. You do need to be able to attend the 3-day training that's held here in Washington, D.C. The training is September 17th through the 19th, and it focuses on leadership skills, working with the ambassadors to engage their peers and other organizations in their community. It's also a unique opportunity to visit the Capitol Hill and work with representatives and senators from their specific states. And it gives all the ambassadors a great opportunity to network together, to meet each other, and be able to support each other throughout the year. Ambassadors are also needed to be able to utilize the $1,000 grant that's from Festival of Children Foundation to mobilize youth-focused service campaigns, looking for September, starting in September through April. We will have webinars starting before the training in September and then going on through the program year. We have about 1 to 2 webinars each month, and it's a great way to receive more information about the program, about specific issue areas, and again, networking with other ambassadors. We do have a couple of progress reports that come up throughout the year, so again, just needing to be able to submit those reports on time. And we also are looking for applicants that are able to work with a sponsoring organization or school. If you start to get into the online application, you'll see that we require all of our ambassadors to partner and collaborate with an organization or school. The grant funds actually go directly to the organization and school, and the ambassadors are asked to work with them to utilize the funding for the ambassadors campaign. Just a couple other eligibility requirements. We do have a consent form that every ambassador needs to be able to complete if they are awarded. It's also a part of the application process, so it's great to get those consent forms signed off at the very beginning. And then each ambassador will need to participate in Global Youth Service Day in April of 2014. And Global Youth Service Day is a campaign that YSA runs each year to recognize the hard work that youth do to serve in their communities, and it's a great way to on one weekend to recognize youth globally for their efforts. So we just wrapped up Global Youth Service Day a few weeks ago, and we're getting ready to prepare for the next year. So we'll be working with ambassadors to have some element of their program happen on Global Youth Service Day. All right, so I just wanted to touch on a few pieces of the application that I think are really important and give each of the applicants an opportunity to really talk about their project and what they're hoping to do. So the first piece I wanted to comment on was the project summary question that's in the online application. This is a great opportunity to give a very strong and thorough overview of your project and what you're hoping to accomplish for the year. We're really looking for applicants to address the issue that's specific to their community and how they're hoping to combat that issue or work on it throughout the year. The second area is the question regarding the community need. And with this question, we're really looking for the ambassador or the applicant to have sort of done their homework and really done research in their community, but also around the issue area that they're addressing. And so with this question, we're sort of hoping to see what does the issue look like in your community and what research have you done to sort of prepare for your service project coming up. The third one I wanted to point out was around the expected outcomes. And so with this question, we're looking for clear metrics that you're able to track and sort of monitor throughout the program year. And this gives you a great way to be able to talk about how you will be tracking the progress and your efforts throughout the program year. So here's a great opportunity to list specific metrics that you'll be tracking or even working with other organizations to track to see the progress and efforts of your service project. And the last one, just to point out, is the question around collaboration. So we know that all the ambassadors working in their individual states simply can't do this alone. So we would love to hear about how you'll be collaborating with organizations, schools, elected officials, media outlets, sort of anyone that's within your community and statewide to really be getting the word out and engaging as many people as possible around your service project. All right, and just to cover a few logistics around the training. Again, the training takes place here in Washington, D.C. from September 17th to the 19th. Just a quick overview of the agenda. On Tuesday, September 17th, the training will begin at noon. All the ambassadors will be in D.C. by Tuesday afternoon, and we'll have a welcome and beginning sessions throughout Tuesday. On Wednesday, we'll have Hill visits set up for each of the ambassadors. So that'll be their opportunity to go to Capitol Hill and meet with their representatives and senators to have a discussion and a dialogue to really get their program started in September about what they're hoping to accomplish statewide throughout the year. Wednesday we'll also have a really engaging dinner. We'll have a couple speakers at the dinner and really a great time again for all of the ambassadors to network together. On Thursday we'll have sort of a wrap-up and next steps, so sort of looking at planning for the upcoming program year. And then with lunch, all the ambassadors will be traveling home. One thing to note about the dates, we do have quite a few states that are sort of on the West Coast that will be traveling, the ambassadors will be traveling into D.C. on Monday, just so that we are able to start the program officially on Tuesday afternoon. So a list of all of those states are on the online application, and if you have any questions sort of specific around that, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer those for you. The training takes place, like I said, here in D.C. Most of the activities will be taking place at the Hotel Palomar, which is, if any of you are familiar with Washington, D.C., it's the DuPont Circle area. And then we'll also have the the activities taking place on Capitol Hill. So it'll be a very central D.C. opportunity. All of the travel arrangements are set up through YSA. So by the generosity of Festival of Children, they take care of all of the transportation along with the grant and other sort of elements of the program. So as the ambassadors are notified in July, they'll start working directly with YSA to get all of their travel arrangements set up. Then again, while they're here, all the ambassadors are here in D.C., local transportation, food, and hotel are all taken care of, again, through the generosity of Festival of Children. And then one thing to note is that we do have chaperones throughout the entire training and the time that the ambassadors are here. So as the ambassadors arrive, they're greeted by chaperones that then take them to the hotel. We always have chaperones at the hotel that then also stay overnight at the hotel. And then anytime ambassadors are leaving the hotel, whether it to be going to the Hill visits or just running an errand, we always make sure that there's a chaperone there to attend with them. Due to bringing in 51 ambassadors, as you can imagine, our budget is a bit tight, so we aren't able to pay for any parents or guardians or teachers that would be looking to come along with the ambassador. So if there are any parents, guardians, teachers that are interested in and are wanting to come to D.C. for the training or need to be with their students or children, all of those costs and arrangements would need to be taken care of by the individual adults. So just a quick overview of the timeline. Applications are due mid-June, and then we'll get those reviewed and get the ambassadors announced by the beginning of July. Then the ambassadors have July through August to sign their MOUs and set up their travel arrangements to come to DC. September is National Child Awareness Month, and that's also when we have the training here in DC, September 17th through the 19th. And that's also the launch of really getting the project started, each of the ambassadors' projects started. So through September through April, projects are implemented by each of the individual ambassadors. And as I mentioned before, we have sort of the monthly check-ins with the webinars, the progress reports, sort of other elements to make sure that the ambassadors have everything they need to be able to implement their projects and have the support from YSA and Festival of Children. Then, even though most of the projects and programs that ambassadors are working on continue well after our program, but we sort of do a conclusion of this program around Global Youth Service Day in April. So each ambassador is asked to have some element of their project take place over Global Youth Service Day. And then in May, the program officially ends, and we'd have final reports that are due. So this will be a time when we can answer any questions that you have. On the screen you'll also see my contact information. An email is the best way to get a hold of me. And I also included the link for the application. So ysa.org/NCAM has all the information about the program and then the link to the online application. So again, go ahead and just type in the box any questions that you have. And I'll go ahead and read those out loud, and then we can get those answered. All right, and it looks like Eileen from Festival of Children is able to share a few words. Eileen, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, we're so sorry. We had trouble with our PIN number, but you did a great job, Amanda, and I just want to say we're really thrilled, Festival of Children Foundation, to work with YSA and fund this program to bring some amazing young people into Washington, D.C., and represent us in the year that follows that out in the field. So thank you all for being interested in applying, and we look forward to working with you as the months go on.
Great. Thanks, Eileen. So just to start reading off some questions that have come up, and Eileen and Tanya, feel free to answer and jump in wherever you like. The first question is just when the application is due. Again, that's June 16th. And on the website, again, you'll see the due date, and let us know if you have any questions around that. Another question is, what are some of the most outstanding projects from the youth ambassadors that you've seen or heard about? I would say some of the, each project is very different and unique because each ambassador is addressing a specific, issue in their community and statewide. So each project looks different, but I would say some of the outstanding projects or the elements of some projects that has worked very well are ambassadors that are able to really find great partnerships in their community and partnerships that are statewide so that they're really able to get the word out about what they're doing and the impact that it can have for youth across their state.
So cute.
There's another question, is it okay if you don't have a project decided when you fill out the application, but have a general idea of what you'd like to do? I think I need a little bit more context around that. In the application, we are looking for a pretty specific issue area to be covered and a pretty good idea of how you would like to sort of work on that throughout the year. The application, we certainly don't need specific details, specific dates of when you're looking to implement elements of your project. But I would say that we are looking for, as I mentioned before, the sort of research and homework to be done to make sure that ambassadors really understand the issue that they're working on and are able to really hit the ground running in September if they aren't already, to be able to implement their service projects and really be able to engage, as I mentioned before, as many people as possible on a statewide level. There's a question, can you give an example of past project metrics components? Yes, some of them that have come up. We had quite a number of ambassadors that were working on illiteracy, and so really making sure that sort of the younger side of youth were being able to be mentored. And so in that capacity, they were counting the number of mentors and the number of hours that mentors were working with youth to really work on the illiteracy issues in their community. Another example is we had a couple of ambassadors that worked on childhood hunger, and so in that capacity they were counting either the number of meals that were being provided at a local food bank that they were working with, and they were also counting, they had put together a really comprehensive flyer and a great video, and so they were counting also the number of people that they were able to get the flyer and video out to. So it's also, sort of making sure that we're working on the awareness side of the issue and making as many people aware of the issue as possible. So I hope just a couple of those sort of give you an idea of a type of metrics that we're looking for. But within each area or sort of issue area that ambassadors are working on, there's typically, a handful of metrics that can easily be monitored and counted throughout the year. There's a great question by Victoria, and she was asking if the program is trying to mobilize youth volunteers or if it is to organize a project that benefits children. That's a great question, and the answer is actually both. So the one thing that Festival of Children is really focused on and what the program is all about is trying to create service projects that focus on serving youth and the issues that, some of the issues that affect youth in certain communities. And the thing that YSA really focuses on is trying to engage youth to sort of combat those issues and work on those. So the answer is kind of both, and that's why it's such a unique project in that, or a unique program in that youth themselves are the ones coming up with the ideas and the answers and the solutions to issues that affect youth. So I hope that answers your question. There's a question around projects that are focused on domestic issues or international. And I would say this program is really looking for issue areas in your communities, so it would be domestic. We're really looking for the focus to be on sort of a statewide issue and really focused on the communities that you serve. There's a question around examples of service projects, and actually I'll point you to our website, ysa.org/NCAM. Towards the bottom of the page, you'll see a list of our current, our current ambassadors that are sort of finishing up right now. And on there, if you click on that link, you'll see all of the service projects and issues that they focused on through the year. So I think that'll give you a good idea of the kinds of service projects that we're looking for. There's a question if you're allowed to cover more than one issue area that involves children, and definitely, yeah, we definitely understand and know that one issue just sort of isn't set alone by itself, so there's typically a few more. In the application, I do believe that we ask for sort of one issue area, but you can go ahead and maybe click on the one that's sort of the overarching issue, but then as you get into other questions in the application, feel free just to touch on the other areas that you'll be working on. There's a question, can we work with multiple charitable organizations for our service project and list one as the main, I think, organization on the application? And the answer is yes. We are looking for you to sort of connect and work directly with one main organization, and that's what we call the sponsoring organization. But then, as I mentioned before, we're really hoping that you're able to collaborate and work with a number of organizations, schools, government entities, sort of other folks across the board to really work and engage on your project. There's a question, what's the best way to find an organization to sponsor and work with you? I would say look at the type of issue area that you're working on. So earlier I was talking about a couple of ambassadors that were focused on childhood hunger. And so the organization that they chose to work with was a local food bank. And that food bank had connections sort of all across the state. And so it was a great way for them to sort of get plugged in to an already established organization in their community that was focused on the issue area. But then they were able to give them the support to really, make the issue more well known in their community, and then sort of branch that message across other channels across the state. So I think looking at the issue area is one great way where you're able to maybe find kind of an obvious connection of who it would make sense to work with. I would also point to Festival of Children has a great list of organizations that they work with, perhaps maybe reaching out to a local organization. And same with YSA. We have a number of partners that we work that are also listed on our website. So if you need any help, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to point you in a couple of directions. There's a follow-up question about partnering with organizations to be the best fit for the service project. And I would say that I wouldn't say that we're necessarily suggesting one way or another. For the requirements of the grant, you will need to partner with an organization or school to receive the grant and be able to implement the funding towards your project. But if you are already working in your own capacity or are able to implement elements of the project on your own or with other organizations, that's definitely fine also. So again, I wouldn't say there's a specific answer across the board, but you really are able to work with various organizations. There's another follow-up question. Yes, if you do have specific questions about your project, feel free to email me. I'm happy to get into sort of more of the nitty-gritty or specifics of your individual project via email or a quick phone call. So feel free, if you do have specific questions, to just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to follow up. There's a question around, I think it's a question around the eligibility age. So again, that's 16 to 22. And there's also another question around working on different, or working again on different issue areas. So you are able to work on issue areas that may be fighting hunger and also education awareness. So that's definitely, I can start to see the pieces of that project coming together. So yeah, we do recognize that there may be different elements of the project, not just one specific issue area. But for the purposes of filling out the application, go ahead and just sort of check the issue area that is sort of the overarching for your project, and then in the project summary, talk about the different elements that will be included. All right, so I think I've caught up with most of the questions that have come in. So if I missed your question, feel free just to type it in again, and I'll make sure it gets covered. Or if there's any other questions, feel free just to type them in. There's a question about the budget. In the application, we do include sort of parameters of how the grant funding can be used. So in the budget, we're looking for a spreadsheet of sort of the major areas that you would be using the grant funding to support your service project. So it doesn't need to be necessarily very detailed in terms of the exact number of I don't know, boxes that you may buy for, say, a food drive or something like that. But we are looking for the overarching areas where you'd be utilizing the funding. So if you were putting together a service project that, as I mentioned, kind of what I was mentioning before, like a mentor program where you have a group of mentors that are going to visit youth and taking them through a couple of reading exercises, the part of the funding could be used on transportation to get the mentors to the youth. So it's those types of sort of line items or budget areas that we're looking to see how you would use the funding to support your service project and overall campaign. Again, there was a question about the age eligibility, and the requirements for this program and to apply to this program is 16 to 22. Are there any other questions or any that I missed? I'm trying to see if I've caught them all. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining today's applicant webinar. I'll hang on the line for just a couple more minutes. I see a couple more questions coming in. Just if you do have any more, let me know. But as I mentioned, my email is on this last slide, so feel free to email me with any questions. We look forward to seeing all of your applications submitted by June 16th. We're very excited to be reviewing those applications and hearing about the amazing projects that you're looking to implement. But thanks again for joining today's webinar, and yes, we look forward to working with you. So again, I'll just hang on the line for just a couple more minutes. If there's any more questions, but feel free to sign off. And one more item to share. Another great place to get information about the program and to check out the great funder is the Festival of Children, and that is festivalofchildren.org. So it's great to do a little bit of research around the issue areas and the focus of Festival of Children and the NCAM program that they support. There was another question around the number of students that apply for the program. So the one thing to keep in mind is that this is a state-by-state program. So even though we may receive, a large number of applications overall, we're really looking for one ambassador per state. So it just depends on each one of the states and the number of applications that come in. There's another question around the engagement age. So yes, although you do need to be 16 to 22 to apply and be a part of the program, you're able to engage children of all ages. So there isn't a limit or requirement or an age range of a specific demographic that we're looking to engage after the ambassadors have started their projects. Yeah, great question. All right, thank you all again so much for joining, and we look forward to reading your applications. Thank you.